Hey there, I have a question for you. In fact, it's actually a question that we all should be asking. So here's the question. How long was the siege of Jerusalem that took place during 70 AD? You know, the siege where Titus comes in, the Romans came in and they surrounded the city of Jerusalem and they destroyed the city by burning it. The question is, how long was that entire process? How long did the siege last? Well, stick around because after the intro, I'm going to be answering that question just for you. Well, hello and welcome back to the channel. And if this is the first time you are here, hello, it's nice to see you. This is a Bible study channel, and what we do here is study the Bible because we take the Bible seriously, and we seriously study the Bible. We talk about anything and everything, including theology and history and culture and geography. So if you are looking for a Bible study that's online, that's absolutely free, you just found it, and you can go ahead and click subscribe and the bell notification. And my name is Adam Jordan Clark, and I publish a brand new video every single day. And I also have to tell you that I'm spending the entire summer. That's from June to August, about 90 days, the entire summer. And we're talking about the end times. You know, eschatology is the study of last things. So we're talking about the book of Revelation, Matthew 24, destruction of Jerusalem, Vespasian, Titus, you know, the rapture, all the really fun stuff that everybody loves to talk about. That's what we're spending all summer talking about. So if you're looking for a Bible study and you're looking to join the conversation about the end times and this, that, and the world and coronavirus and locusts and whether or not this stuff has anything to do with the end of the world, you came to the right place. You just found your Bible study and you can click subscribe and the bell notification. So to get to the point, right, about this question of Jerusalem being sieged and destroyed in 70 AD, how long was this process? How long did the siege actually last? Well, the answer, the very short answer is this. Probably about 4 months. 4 months. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 fingers. 4 months. I want to be clear on this. 4 months. That's it. Maybe 5. Probably about 4, though. So the question now becomes, why is this important? Well, the reason why this question is important, and it's also important to understand that it's 4 months or 5 months, is because there's a group of people in eschatology, the end times, study of end times. There's a group of people called the Preterist. Now, they like to be called full Preterists. There's also another group that's subsect to it. They're called the partial Preterist. So you got Preterist, full Preterist, and you got partial Preterist, okay? These groups of people, they like to think that the book of Revelation was written before 70 AD, which it was not, but they think that. They're like the only people in the world who think that, by the way. There's no real scholar who actually thinks that because there's no real evidence for it. But these people live in their own little world, and they just think that it's written before 60 AD for whatever reason. So you have that problem. And one of the places that they go to try to, use this as a dating method is this passage I'm getting ready to show you. Actually, I'll show you right now. It's in the book of Revelation, and it's in chapter 11, and it's this section right here at the very beginning. And so basically where the idea comes from is it says, he's telling John, the guy in the story, he's saying, look, go get a measuring rod, and I want you to measure the temple. So he's talking about the temple of God. And the temple of God's right here. He says, go measure the altar, who's worshiping on it, and leave out the courtyard. And so blah, blah, blah. And people are saying, look, he knows the temple very well, so therefore this guy's probably been to Jerusalem. And do not measure the court because it has been given over to the Gentiles. And they point to this and they say, look, this is a direct reference to Luke 21 because Luke 21 prophesies about the destruction of Jerusalem under the Romans, under Titus. And they go on, it says, and the Gentiles, the Romans, will trample the city for 42 months. Do you see that? It says, it will trample the city for 42 months. So, why is this question important of how long did the siege last? Well, the answer is very simple. It's 4. It's 4 months, right? Well, the Preterists, they say, no, it happened for 42 months. And, well, this is a little bit of a problem. I mean, actually, it's a really big problem. Not for me. It's not a big problem for me. It's a big problem for preterists. So, for you preterists out there who've landed on this video, and you partial preterists out there who've landed on this video, look, don't get your feelings hurt. Take this criticism as a good thing and say, hey, you know what? This is a hole in our argument. Let's try and work this problem out. Like, I'm basically trying to help you here, okay? I'm trying to point out some problems in your ideology, and I'm thinking you should fix it. So, You have this Bible passage. I'll show it to you again. I'm sure you're real familiar with it if you are a preterist. And it basically says, and they will trample the city for 42 months. Well, this is a little bit of a problem because Josephus tells us that they came there, second week in April, April 14th or something. And he goes on to tell us it's probably, 3 or 4 or 5 months or something like that. Not 42 months. Okay, and he gives us pretty good details about what happens in Jerusalem, how the army surrounded Jerusalem, what Titus did, what Titus didn't do. And keep in mind, just so you know, Josephus was captured by Vespasian, who later became emperor, but Vespasian is the father of Titus. And so Vespasian was a commander. He was a general in the Galilean forces, and Vespasian was up there trying to silence that rebellion. Long story short, Josephus's army is destroyed, and he's captured by Vespasian, and Vespasian makes Josephus his slave. Well, when Vespasian has to go to Rome to become emperor about 90 or 69 AD, somewhere in that time frame, he tells Titus, hey, look, dude, I want you to go down to Jerusalem, and I want you to kill all these people. Because they had been on this campaign of going around killing all these Jews. So this wasn't just a destroying of Jerusalem. This was a destroying of all this rebellion that happened. That's important to understand, and I'll tell you why in a second. But anyways, Josephus ends up linking up with Titus, and so Josephus is actually a translator and a negotiator for Titus for the Jewish. Basically, Josephus is standing outside of the walls, and he's yelling and screaming inside to the walls. He's over the fence, and he's saying, look, guys, you got to surrender. You're all going to die. If you give up now, they're not going to kill you. It seems like a good idea. And the Jews didn't listen because the Jews were pretty much, from what we know or from what Josephus tells us, they're all messed up. They were all confused inside. Some people would call it anarchy. Because there's multiple different groups of Jews. And I know I'm packing a lot of information here and getting too much too quick, but just bear with me for a second. Inside of Jerusalem, on the Jewish side, here's what happened. We have all these different groups of people and all these different armies that were inside Jerusalem. They're all Jewish, but they're different kinds of armies. There was no real leadership, and basically it led to their downfall. Also, this is just before Passover, so it's speculated upon that there's a fly going around. You see it? It's speculated upon that the Jews from all around the areas came into Jerusalem for Passover. Just after that, Titus and his army comes waltzing in and says, hey, look, we just captured a bunch of people. So how many people were in Jerusalem? I don't know, 20, 30, 40,000 or something. I mean, we really don't know. But let's just say there was 50,000 people there for Passover. And, of course, you have these armies who had been fighting all around Judea. Anyways, long story short, Titus surrounds the city, and because of the chaos that's happening on the inside of the city, it kind of made Titus's job a little bit easier. This is why you had famines. And so when you read Luke 21, Mark 13, it talks about famines. In those days, there'll be famines. Where the vultures gather, there the carcasses you will find. What he's saying, he's saying, look, there's going to be a lot of dead bodies. There's going to be famines. So he describes it. And we've talked about this on the channel where whoever wrote Matthew 24 and whoever wrote Luke 21, they're writing after the fact about 80, 85 AD, and they are writing with the knowledge of the destruction of Jerusalem. So it's very important to understand. Also, I'll mention this last point because this is going to lead up to next week, maybe a couple weeks from now. We're eventually going to end up talking about the Mount of Olives. And the Mount of Olives is a really cool topic because the Mount of Olives is this little mount where Jesus gives this Olivet discourse. He says, he looks up there and says, here's all this bad stuff that's going to happen. Well, it's very interesting because here is what ends up happening. I have a little bit of cold going on. Maybe I had the coronavirus. But anyways, here's what's ended up happening. Titus stands up on this Mount of Olives, and that's kind of where the siege begins to start. So it's kind of like a coincidence that Jesus delivers a speech on the Mount of Olives, and Titus destroys the city from the Mount of Olives. Kind of interesting. Something to think about there, just so you know. So anyways, the point of the matter is that this idea that they were going to trample the city for 42 months, 42 months, guys, this is like 4 years, is absurd. That never happened. Josephus does not tell us that. The siege was in 70 AD, April, and it's over by summertime, June. It just is. This didn't last for 4 or 5 years. This was not a 4 or 5 year siege. It didn't happen like that. It was only a handful of months. So just understand something. If you are researching preterism or you're not very familiar with it, People always talk about Josephus in that crowd, and for some strange reason, they talk about Josephus as if they've never read his writings, as if they don't even know who he is. So what I've done for you is I've actually linked below. It's an actual EDU link, so this is like legit stuff. I linked to you the works of Josephus. So if you want to go read his works, you can. Jewish Wars is in there. Antiquity of the Jews is in there. But primarily you want to read the Jewish Wars, because this is the description of this rebellion that happened with the Jews and how Rome decided to deal with it. And eventually it talks about the destruction of Jerusalem and all the other cities as well, because Josephus was there. He fought in the war, and then he was taken as a slave, and he documents it later on down the road. Listen, if you like this video, let me know in the comments below. If you've never thought about this problem or you've ever wondered about 42 months, let me know in the comments below. If you disagree, come up with a good reason why you disagree. You're going to have to explain to me how the siege of Jerusalem lasted for 4 or 5 years. Okay, because 42 months is a long time. That's like 4 years, guys. So if you're going to be arguing for that, and you're going to say this is our proof that it was written before 70 AD, you're going to have to explain it, and you're also going to have to explain how Josephus is wrong. I linked him below. You can go and read him, and you can see what he has to say about it, and you can also go see what other historians have to say about it. I have some more playlists up here if you want to go and check them out. Don't forget to click the big red A, because when you do, you subscribe to the channel and you get a brand new video just like this every single day. My name is Adam Jordan Clark. Thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next video.